been a swimmer since I was a little kid, and being in water is critical to me. Anybody who's a swimmer, just the joy, you know, it's the only place you can go to and be weightless. I mean, you're flying, basically. I mean, these are living waters. I mean, you're swimming with fish and crawdads and salamanders and little freshwater crustaceans, and the native plants are growing. I mean, it's nature in the heart of our city. I was fortunate to go to work for a small law firm when I first came here that was working on the side of the environment, which is mostly rare in the legal field. With Barton Springs, I never decided, yes, this is going to be my life work. I just started doing it.
I'm Bill Bunch with Save Our Springs Alliance. We're going to go down the main trail here, and then we're going to take a side trail that goes upstream a little bit and dumps off at the High Dam, which is a really fun swimming hole. The main goal today is to have fun. I was interested in environmental work, conservation, actually starting back at Boy Scouts. The recharge is where water flowing on the surface plunges into the aquifer, often through fractures and sinkholes in the creek bottoms. The longer I was here, the more I figured out that there were really special places right here in our own backyard that were under immediate threat. There was the big all-night uprising at City Council in June of 1990. The Freeport-McMoran Company bought up 4,000 acres on Barton Creek and put it together in this giant mega development. It would have been the largest ever in Austin history. That got people's attention as a major threat to the Springs. All the press was all over it, the TV stations and the newspapers. There was a real sense that there needed to be a focal point to channel all this concern about the Springs.
To protect Barton Springs, you should minimize impervious cover. We have compromised in the past too much, and we have become accomplices in the crime.
The adoption of a weak Barton Springs non-degradation ordinance, or none at all, will be considered grounds for going directly to the voters to secure protection of Barton Springs and our water supply.
Bill?
Personal attacks! Total lie! Personal attacks! Recall!
It's obvious that emotions are heated about this issue.
The people lead, the leaders will follow, and that's what happened today. This is a historic moment.
It was after that vote that folks realized, well, we need a continuing voice on behalf of the Springs. In Barton Springs, like other special places, you have to save it every day. That's especially true with a lot of these environmental problems now, where you don't have one big threat. The threat is all of us. You know, it's the death of 1,000 cuts. Each development adding another increment of pollution.
Algae is growing because of the increased nitrogen and phosphorus in the water, in the aquifer. And that's from fertilizing in the watersheds and other pollution.
There are so many other examples where it's always done deal first and then public disclosure second. And so we get a city that's being built for developers, not for our community.
SOS has been attacked as being too uncompromising.
A $500 million plant is remotely part of the budget?
You want to control yourself, or do you want to be removed from the chamber?
I would respectfully ask that you not insult the intelligence of this community.
I heard a saying, let heartbreak be your rocket fuel. So I try to live by that.
On decisions of that scale, that should be a community process, and this amendment will make sure that it will.
Our view has always been to not agree to anything that compromise the springs and the future. The heartbreak is there over and over. You go through a battle and you lose. The courts are much more hostile to environmental protection claims than they were in previous years. Sometimes it's worth it to fight and lose in the battle because you're educating people along the way.
The motivation does go up and down like with everyone else. And it is kind of a race against time. There's been a series of bond measures to buy up watershed protection land so it's protected permanently.
We are now really trying to shift to do community organizing and education, and then picking the legal battles a lot more carefully.
There's definitely some tracts that need to be purchased before the next boom shows up and it's out of our reach again.
It takes a community to save a community spring. We're fighting battles in the courtroom, but ultimately it's the community that's going to decide.
This is the eve of the 20th anniversary of what I say is our David and Goliath story. It is a huge thing for us to celebrate, for us to know this story, for us to tell it and retell it, tell our children and our grandchildren.
It's insane to think about it, but literally 20 years later, developments are being able to go forward under the weaker pre-SOS standards. We're doing our best, stay active. When we need you to show up at City Hall, if you can, come out.
Personally, it sort of goes back to Boy Scouts. You always leave your campsite, cleaner than you found it, and I always felt like we should be doing that, generation by generation. Working on the conservation side, you don't get paid near what you would be paid, working, representing, business or industry. So it's a financial sacrifice, but I've still felt lucky to make it and to pursue, what is my passion. Hopefully you hand it off to the next folks who are equally committed to protecting the springs.